All right. Well, it's great to see you all. Great to see you all today. Been a couple of early mornings for me. This is my first time that I've had to call snow days. So we've had a couple fun mornings. Marty Spalding, our director of property services, and I connect early and check the roads and whether or not we're able to clear. And so it's been a couple of interesting mornings. So if I'm a little sleepy, I apologize. Let's keep rolling, Russ.
There we go.
Yeah, so for many of you, it's great to see you all. It's great to see some of you back and see some new faces. The purpose of this is this lunch with Tom is to just be another way to engage. So we have board meetings. I have student, faculty, and family advisory councils, and just doing lots of meeting with people in the community to really listen and understand what are the community's experiences with our schools and what their hopes and dreams are. And so this is another example, another opportunity for me to do that. For me to give you some updates and for you to ask me questions or give me updates. I'm always open to thoughts and feedback, and it's meant to be an informal opportunity to connect and to build relationships and community. So I'll do 15 minutes of updates here, and Russ will keep me on the timer so that I don't go over, and then we'll have a chunk of time for conversation. Russ, were we going to do a quick conversation with the group too in this one, or no?
Yeah, so there's one slide in here, and it looks like we're going to have enough people that we're going to do breakout groups when we talk about the strategic plan, and we'll just spend 5 minutes doing that. We'll come out and do some report outs, and then that'll be a good segue into our general conversation.
Great, thank you. All right. Next slide, please. There we go. So these are our 2020-2021 strategic goals. And so we set these in the summer with the cabinet here. So I have a cabinet of directors and executive directors and principals. So it makes up 27 people. We have 12 school programs, each with a leader, and then a group of school-based or district-based leaders as well. And they make up the cabinet. And so we developed a set of draft goals based on a couple of iterations of feedback and based on my listening tour from March through late June. And then I worked with the board and my team, my kind of senior leadership team, worked with our school board. And at the end of August, I think it was the end of August, maybe it was July. Anyway, it was summer, and we finalized these strategic goals for the year, and then these are going to lead us into a strategic planning process. We're in the 5th year of a 5-year strategic plan, and so you'll see overlap in the 5-year strategic plan that we were in the last year of. Focuses on restorative practices and closing the opportunity gap. And then there's a capital commitment component of that as well. And so you see some alignment here, and our goal with the strategic planning process moving forward is to have goals that come from the community and then hold ourselves accountable to those goals. And so that's what's going on here. I'll just point out one. I was thinking I could kind of talk through one of these as each week for a brief second. And our first goal is that our schools are restorative and equitable communities. And so we have a number of practices that are happening this year around affinity groups. Can you go back, Russ?
Sorry.
That's all right.
Getting ahead of it.
Yeah. So we're developing restorative practices and practices that build on relationships and build our culture and our ability to work together and to restore if there's harm. And so a lot of our work around culturally responsive teaching practices and anti-racist practices are are sort of built within here, but sit throughout other goal areas as well. So what we're really looking at this year in terms of the end goals are that we suspend African-American students and students with disabilities and students who qualify for free and reduced lunch less frequently. And that we've made a lot of progress on, but it's really because I don't think it's necessarily because of any strategies we've put in place. It's mostly because we're not in school full time this year. But I think there may be some of the strategies may be paying off too, because there are very few suspensions across the district so far this year. And then that staff report increased use of restorative practices. So we're still in that tier 1 phase of restorative practices. I think that's taking hold, but will continue to take hold. We continue to prioritize that work, and we have a survey that shows that for the most part, people feel like they've been trained in restorative practices and feel like they can use them, but want more training and feel like they could use them better. So I think we're in a good place there, and we'll have more input on that at the end of the school year. So, and then you can see goals 2 through 6 there, and I'll talk about those in future weeks. All right, we have a couple of big updates. So last night, I recommended Lauren McBride to be the interim principal at Burlington High School, and Gail Botello to be the interim assistant principal at Burlington High School. And our school board unanimously approved that recommendation. And so we're really excited to have them in place to continue to lead the district, the school during a really important transition time. They've been in the acting position, and so they have had 10 days or so of experience in those roles, and they have a lot of support among the staff. So I got a letter from teacher leaders who told me that they really wanted continuity and consistency and stability and leadership in this interim period. And so I'm really, really pleased with the way that Lauren and Gail are leading, both with a sense of humility and also a sense of reassurance and sort of command of the work in a way that I think is reassuring, allows people to do their work. So I'm really happy with how they're doing, and that the board recognized that also and approved that last night. They'll serve in their role until next school year. So we are going to begin a national search for the full-time principal beginning, so that person will be in place for the beginning of next school year. And we'll get a lot of input in that process. The positions are posting today, and we'll keep those positions open for a while. But our goal is to have to be able to name a principal for BHS in the month of May. And so we think we're in a good place in terms of timing to be able to do that. But we also gave ourselves a little bit of room, a little buffer of room if we need it to move into June if we need that. BHS is also holding a couple of town halls. There's a town hall on Friday, and I think that one's for students, right, Russ? Is that right? At noon on Friday. And then there's one on Wednesday evening. And so we're putting those out on the website and on social media and in emails to staff and students and community. And so looking forward to Gail and Herb Perez, the other assistant principal there, and Lauren will be leading those town halls. So we're just looking forward to engaging. That's going to be a big piece of what Lauren is going to be doing in her role. Budget update. There's just been a lot going on with the budget really for the past 12 months or so. The board, our school board, Monica Ivanchich is on the call. I'm not sure if other school board members are, but thank you, Monica, for being here. And so the board unanimously passed the budget proposal, and our budget proposal was very conservative because we knew that there were many challenges in front of us with the budget, and so that we knew we needed to have a conservative budget, but also the board asked us not to cut any programs that impacted students directly. And so we were glad to have that charge, and we were able to do that in our budget proposal. Since that time, we have heard that the Ed Fund, which supplies us with lots of our revenue, our dollars to be able to operate, is doing better than the state originally anticipated. And so that could actually bring the original tax rates that they proposed, that the tax letter in December said could be around 13%. We did some work to get that down to 6.8%. Then we learned the Ed Fund is actually in a better place. And so that could actually bring that 6.8% down. But we also recently learned, immediately after we learned about the Ed Fund being in a good position, that our equalized pupil is down. And so we're striking the balance there. So we've kept our number at our projected number at 6.88% tax increase. That's the number that's on the ballot. I think that it could look better than that in the long run, but we wanted to make sure people understood kind of what we have most tangibly in our projection. And I think the only way that'll go is down. And there's a budget. Okay, Russ just put in the notes that there's a budget one page that'll be coming out. There are NPAs that are going on. I know, Monica, you had an NPA last Wednesday. And so we're doing lots of engagement around that. We did add one thing to the budget. So we found $1 million in cuts or in reductions to operational items like this. I'm oversimplifying it, but it was essentially staples and some of those types of things, or places where we have projected year over year more than we've needed, and we've just rolled over those projections, and we were able to recalibrate the projections. We found $1 million there, but we also were able to roll over a surplus. So we have a significant surplus that we've been able to roll over, and that's just going to help with our costs that we have for BHS and BTC. And then we added the one major programmatic add we made was to make sure that to ensure that we are able to communicate with our multilingual families and support and work with our multilingual families 12 months of the year. So our multilingual liaisons are currently 10-month employees, and so we want to create more opportunity for that work to continue over the summer months. So that's the update on the budget. I think we're in a pretty good place compared to where we thought we could have been, so I'm feeling good about our budget.
Okay, and we have 4 minutes left, so.
All right, so speed up. All right, I can speed up. Planning for more in-person and recovery. So the governor has asked us to start thinking about what it would look like to be back in school more in person by April. And so that's something that my team and the principals have been looking at and thinking about. And the state is also asking us to develop a plan. And so they were anticipating, hopefully this week, the outline of the plan for recovery. So there's this huge amount of work that we need to do around recovery, both academic and social and emotional work that we need to do to repair, to bring relationships back, to repair any trauma from social isolation or anything related to any of those things related to the pandemic that we know our communities are all facing here and around the world. And so we'll be developing a plan related to that. And we obviously have ideas for the plan, but we're working with the Champlain Valley Superintendents Association and the other Champlain Valley schools to develop a plan that has some continuity and consistency across the region, and also to help pool our resources, because people are tired, and so having to think about recovery planning and this huge lift around how do we really come back as a community more in full. And what do we need to do to regain lost learning, to rebuild connections? is important work, and we know it is important and needs our full attention, and people are tired. So there's this balance of working through that. And so that's something that I wanted you all to know. It came up at the last lunch, that it's something that we're thinking about and planning for now. So that's that in person. The COVID update, I know this is on people's minds, and our schools really continue to be safe. We've got the Department of Health is a phone call away from us, and a close consultant on any individual cases and on our broader work around testing and how we're responding. There's been no school spread post-break, so we did have one case of confirmed school spread prior to the break. We've had no school spread post-break. I will say school spread's sometimes hard to quantify, and so the Department of Health tells us what they think school spread, when they think there may be school spread, and but generally the schools are safe across the state, and our schools have been very safe throughout this pandemic. And the cases on the right-hand side in this column, you can see the overview of our cases. And since our last lunch, there have been 16 since break, and across 8 locations. So we are having cases, but we're not seeing any spread or anything of major concern. And the reduction in numbers of cases we have felt sort of from street data, in addition to these numbers, is really helping us as a district, because it takes a lot of energy and resources to manage each individual case for our school nurses, our COVID coordinators, and our principals. And so we felt a little bit of relief from that, although it's still ongoing. And we're doing testing. And so that's happening. There was actually supposed to be testing today, but we pushed it. We told them there was a possibility we wouldn't be in person because of the snow, and that ended up not being the case, but it's rescheduled for tomorrow. And then I'm just really happy with how the community is working together on this, with masking and physical distancing and staying home when we're sick, and staying patient and communicating with us when you have concerns. I really appreciate how the community is pulling together around this.
Yeah. I just want to add, our time just went up, but the total cases, that should actually be 42. I updated the top and not the bottom. And then I don't want to gloss over that. You know, we had 16 cases since we returned from break, and 12 of those were in the first 2.5 weeks. So we really have seen a substantial reduction in the last 2 weeks, which is really exciting for us. And I know Becca's on the call. I know that makes her happy. So.
Yeah. All right. So then looking forward, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're in the 5th year of a 5-year strategic plan. And so we're preparing to enter into a new strategic planning process and develop a new strategic plan for the next 5 years, starting next school year. And the idea is that we need to look at how we've done on the last strategic plan and really analyze that and see what was working and what isn't working, and also reach out and work with and really kind of deeply engage over the spring our community in the development of a strategic plan. And so currently we have a couple of things happening. One is an equity review. So we're reviewing sort of our equitable practices across the district, and working with the Mid-Atlantic Equity Consortium and University of Vermont on that equity review. That was a part of my 100-day plan, was to look to start to dig in there. This special education review is receiving some, we're currently in that. So we're looking at our special education programs. We have a group that's supporting us with that, and we'll be providing recommendations for our special education program, and we are doing a literacy review. So we actually started a literacy review last year. It got pushed off because of COVID, and now we've restarted it. The only thing that's not happening now, which is pretty important, is the classroom observations. And so that'll start next fall, but we'll get a good set of recommendations this spring based on interviews and review of our programs on some of our literacy work. Our early literacy work particularly is the focus. And the strategic plan, the goal for the strategic plan process is to begin now. So we're just starting now. We put out an RFP, and we have received responses, and we're going to start looking at those responses, and we will be asking for help in support of this strategic planning process. But we want to make sure that that strategic planning process is built, comes out of the of engagement with our community. We are a part of a group called the Deeper Learning Dozen, which we've been a part of for 3 or 4 years, and it's with the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And they have pulled a group together, a group of districts from across the country and Canada, to dig into deeper learning. And we proposed, we got feedback from them. And one of the big principles of deeper learning and the deeper learning work is the idea of emergence, and that, you know, plans and a lot of times are top down, and we tell people what the goals are, and then we ask people to kind of give us feedback. But we need to, the feedback we receive is we need to really think about emergence and how we build the plan from the community, and co-construct the plan. So that'll be fun and challenging, I think, to co-construct a strategic plan with, you know, a couple tens of thousands of people. But we're gonna work hard to make sure that that plan is actually emerging from the community as much as possible. Planning to finalize that August, September. So with that in mind, we were wanting to break you out into discussion, into breakout rooms, just to give us a little bit of feedback, and then we'll still have a good solid 30 minutes for questions and answers. How would you like to see the district? So the question here is, how would you like to see the district engage the community in the strategic planning process? So thinking about this idea of emergence and the idea of engaging as a community, and we've done this before, and I think we've done some good things before. I've witnessed and heard about from the team. I think we're going to break out into 6 groups, and I'm going to do that now. And they're just going to be randomly created. So here we go. Does everyone know the question? We'll send it around in the chat too. Yep. How would you like to see the district engage the community in this process? We'll do 3 to 4 participants per room, and then we'll have an opportunity to report out. And then that is a good segue into our community conversation as well. Here we go. Yes.
Is there a way to separate me and Tom and you? It wouldn't make sense for the 3 of us to be in a group together.
It would take a little bit longer than I want to put into this. So if we are in there,
okay, we'll
let's just break.
Get out. Yep. Thanks. Hi, Sam and Lori. I think we are we might be in a group together, or you didn't get assigned. Are you 2 not wanting to join a group and you just want to wait until we come back out? There we go. Hi, Tom. We just went into breakout rooms to talk about, we just have a prompt regarding our strategic plan. How would you like to see the district engage the community in this process? So I'm just going to try to assign you to a group real quick, if you're interested, or you can sit tight. You want to hop in a group?
Who are you talking to, Russ?
I was talking to you, Tom.
Oh,
I just moved you.
cow. Hey, Russ.
How you doing, Helen? Thanks for
Good,
letting
how are you?
Hope you don't mind I joined your group. I couldn't figure out how to join a group.
I was just saying that because of the remote nature of how things have been, that the district is actually poised to maybe connect with more people for community engagement remotely. And I love the idea. Kelly was talking about a survey or questionnaire and like, you know, kind of getting more consistent data or information. And I love that idea too, but I think it might have to be like, I like the idea of multiple ways of connecting with people and engagement. And taking the time to look around at who's there and who's not there, you know. I've been saying, you know, I know it's hard, but like mobile units going into neighborhoods or, I don't know, sometimes having like busy parents when they pick up their kids at after school programs was always a way that we could connect with families in elementary school, because you just had that few minutes where they were signing their kid out and the kid was getting their bags together and you could have a conversation. So
yeah.
No, absolutely. I think conversations in the beginning are the way to go. And I think that's where the questionnaires and surveys stem from, is you're able to kind of funnel down, like, there's been a lot of people talking about this. Let's focus in on that. There's some people over here talking about this, but I absolutely agree with keeping some of the good that's come out of this whole experience. You know, way back in the day, back when Superintendent Obeng and Laura Nugent started with the district, they tried starting a special education family group, and it is incredibly challenging as a special education family to get out and do these meetings. And I remember there were, I think, 6 families at that first meeting, and we were all just like jaws dropped. That 6 families were able to find the care that we needed to be able to get to this meeting. And we had requested, wouldn't it be great if we could have these, like, if we could like have a computer screen so those that can't attend can be there remotely. And it was like kind of like poo-pooed away. And now here we all are. Suddenly this accommodation is every day. It's not an accommodation, it's life. You know, and so
I don't even think Zoom was around back then, but yes.
But still, you know, we could have had like a telecall, you know, it could have been just a speaker phone in the middle of the room so that these people could call in, you know, but thinking outside of the box while recognizing there's no box is challenging. But, you know, we want to, I know my family wants to keep some of these good things, you know. Our older son is, we've never seen such academic success from him in person. Remote learning has been his golden ticket to accessing education. And I can't even begin to stomach the thought of putting him back in a building, because I don't want to see all that success just melt away, you know. So these are topics where I hope that they come into conversations higher up, and what will be provided to children to provide a free and appropriate public education, because inclusion isn't always in the classroom. Inclusion is participation. And right now my student's participating. So he's full on in 6th grade and loving it.
Yeah, that's true equity, right? Finding the path that works for, you know, each, and it's hard, you know, to make every single person happy, but
oh, absolutely.
But I agree, what we've learned, you know, and what we can take away from this. I mean, I've had a heartbreaking experience with my senior, like not being able to engage. And so, but I've heard amazing stories from teachers about kids that they've connected with that they couldn't in the classroom. So,
I don't want to shut this down, but I have to close.
You gotta go.
I don't know what's going to happen to us. We might have one more.
We'll be telecommuted. Okay. See you back in the big room. Okay. Nice talk.
I wanted to just follow up on somebody said, like, go into the communities, and I just like don't want to lose that idea, because we have food drops in communities right now, and that could be an easy way if there's something tangible to give people or to set something up, like we already have an inn. weekly,
Absolutely.
twice a week. So
See, those are the nice, easy solutions that I think people forget about. We
fit
get
in, yeah.
busy.
Yeah, we used, when the first shutdown happened, we used those food drops for everything. So that structure's right there. We already have that partnership, and Doug is a real systems thinker too. So
nice.
All right.
See you back at the big group.
Yep.
Sweater here. It's great to see all the snow. Luckily, George shovels.
I wasn't so happy when the sidewalk plow gave it back to me after I got rid of it, but you know, I'm getting over it.
Okay, Tom, so I think we have everybody back. We have about 25 minutes, and I think you have a hard stop at 12:30.
Yes.
So let's do maybe 5 minutes on this to report out, and then I know that people have general questions just about the district that we need to try to answer as well.
Great. And you'll keep us moving, right?
Yes, yes.
Good. I just want to thank Elizabeth and Stephen for a great conversation there about sort of expectations and tracking and some of the work we need to do there. So thank you.
So if anybody from your group wants to report out, that would be great.
I'm happy to report a little bit for our group. I'm Kate Larson. Hello, everybody. It's so good to see so many great faces. It was Ruth and Gail and I think one of the things that we had common ground on is the need for the school district to really put some resources and effort into public relations, meaning there's been some real damage to the reputation of the school district. And I think that permeates many parts of the city and then beyond the city, and people coming in and looking at this being a healthy place to send their kids. And I think that opportunity has been missed in the past with leadership. And I think that figuring out ways to involve the business community, to think about the perspective of people coming into the city, and really finding ways to talk about the incredible strength of the diversity that we have that isn't really trumpeted and should be, but balanced with academic achievement, the opportunity for academic achievement for everyone. So I think that we were all agreeing, am I saying this correctly for you guys, Gail and Ruth? I think we're really feeling that is a huge, it's a huge undertaking, but incredibly important in order to get us back in the most powerful place that we can be.
Thank you.
We probably have time for 1 or 2 more report outs on what do you want the community engagement process to look like, or what are you hoping for the strategic plan?
I can share because I think it kind of builds on what was just said. In our group, it was Bonnie and Naima from the high school, who also has a student in the high school. And I'm from the elementary perspective. And we just noticed that with goal 1 being schools restorative and equitable communities, involving voices and perspectives in an emergent co-constructed plan that, you know, just to being mindful of voices that are really important to be heard. It's important to offer the forums like this with breakout sessions and whatnot, but you know, barriers through technology or people not having the confidence to speak up or feeling empowered that they'll be listened to, just to really be mindful of that, given, and we're wondering about the timeline of this plan and how will communities that either are quiet or don't have the capacity to be as involved or haven't historically been included to really put their voice over a deadline of submitting a plan, that could make or break work in goal number 1 is being pretty important. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. It's so important. We appreciate it.
So if someone has something just real quick to add, we can do that. That's technically the timer, but didn't want to cut anybody off.
I'll just build, I mean, Kelly, Russ, and I were in a group together, and you know, also talked about the opportunity to learn from families and students about things that are working great that we learned during this pandemic, and not to lose that, and also what didn't, so that we also have that perspective. But also we talked about how, you know, what we know now about technology and Zoom and being able to reach people is really an opportunity, but that we also have to take the time to look around and see who's there and who's not there, and figure out how to reach those that, you know, we haven't heard from.
Yeah, thank you for reiterating that. I think it's definitely something that is on our mind. Victor Prusak is our coordinator for engagement and has been leading with me our advisory groups, and so we're really thankful. I'm grateful that you're bringing it up now, and that this is a public conversation for us to have, because I think it's really important for us to keep at the front of our thinking as we plan. How do we make sure that we are truly representing our entire community as we work together as a community to develop plans for all of our children? So thank you.
Thanks, everybody. So I think with that, let's open it up for just general questions and conversation. And we have 19 minutes.
Tom, I will not surprise you in asking this question, which is that I'm just curious. You were talking about pulling together with other school districts around your plans for supporting families and kids as they come back into more face-to-face learning, which I think is really bright. It's a really bright idea to pull together. I love that. Not surprisingly, I'm thinking about health and wellness and wondering,
I figured.
It's really a surprise, I know. And I'm just curious, you know, how you are, I'll be anxious at some point to hear how that piece is being built into that plan, because I think those tools of helping kids to flag for the whole system to be able to flag kids that are struggling and to give them tools to take care of themselves is critically important.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. And it is one of the pillars. They're you know, one of the major areas for us to build our plan around, that the Agency of Education has already told us they want us to have plans around wellness and mental health as we return. So that's something, you know, I actually think, so as I'm listening and sort of evaluating where we are as a district, I think that we have a lot of resources and a lot of great people in the health and wellness and mental health work. And we're also not very well organized around that work across the district. So that's something that I really have been thinking a lot about. And I have like I mentioned, I have this teacher advisory group or faculty advisory group, and we have one of our school counselors on that group. And she brought to Becca McCrae, who's our COVID coordinator and school nurse at EMS, Edmonds Middle School, who's on the call too, a couple of weeks ago, that they really want to help figure out in the immediate, how do we work with families and students and teachers when they have to quarantine? And so I thought it was just and so we've had a couple of conversations and quick work around developing district-wide procedures and responses to be able to support the health and wellness of our whole community as they deal with a specific moment, right? I think we can learn from that, because what happened was they organized a group of school counselors, psychologists, social workers organized themselves. And so I'm going to continue working with them as a group and figure out who the right kind of group is to build out our wellness planning as we return to in-person. So interested in thoughts and feedback on that. It is high on our radar. And right now we're really, you know, this is the challenge of recovery planning is to do the recovery planning and to save energy and headspace for that long-term planning while you're knee deep in the now, which is really the now is heavy. And so we are, but I think it also provides models for how we can build that work out. So I don't know, Becca, do you want to add a little bit about that group's work?
Sure. First of all, I just want to say that health and wellness has been such a key component of everything this year because of COVID, just like in our own personal lives. But this has really strengthened us as a team district-wide. Before COVID, every school was kind of siloed in what they did health and wellness-wise. And so this is the silver lining for me around COVID being a part of our school year this year is that we've all kind of gotten on the same page. We're all doing the same thing. We're uniform in what we're doing. And I'd like to see that continue. I think a lot of us would. And the team that Tom just referred to came about kind of organically. We had a meeting this morning and we're just trying to get everybody on the same page so that there aren't a lot of different teams trying to do the same thing. And we're really trying to streamline our energy and process so that a family who has 5 kids in 4 different schools doesn't get a phone call from 4 different schools. They really are just working with one person to meet their needs district-wide. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're just trying to get this up and running so that we are all doing the same thing together.
And just to add on to that, one last piece of this that we are also expecting a round of CARES Act funding. They're calling it the ESSER, ESSER. Don't ask me what that stands for. Every student succeeds. I don't know. Act 2, and that's a significant amount of funding that they're going to be. The state is going to be pushing to districts to do this recovery work. So, in some ways, there's an opportunity here too to think about how we're structured differently and to support the work to get it off the ground in a coordinated way across the district. What other questions are out there? Or thoughts or feedback?
I had a question.
Oh, sorry. Let's do Kelly and then Ruth and then Marnie.
Okay.
I just had a quick little advocacy around remote students because, you know, they're kind of my thing right now. We had been having any, you know, additional papers or things that weren't available electronically being mailed to us. And we got an email from the principal saying that can no longer happen. Families have to come in to pick up. And that was a little frustrating because kind of the point of remote is not going into the building once a week, even curbside. Many families chose remote for multiple reasons. So I was just wondering if that is something that can kind of be worked around, you know, because we've gotten papers that we don't use for 2.5 weeks. And the understanding was, oh, the mail's slow, so we can't depend on it. But I think that's something that should be worked around and not having families feel forced to go in or just kind of shrug it off and then the student doesn't get their work.
Yeah. Let me follow up on that. I didn't know that change had been messaged out. So I appreciate you bringing that to me. I didn't realize that was happening. So I know
that was like kind of a little personal thing, but it impacts, you know, all of 6th grade right now, remote. So I'm speaking for the 6th grade.
I don't think it's not. Yeah, it has an impact across a grade or a school at least. So it's definitely worth bringing up. Thank you.
Tom, one of the question that I had was really more about in our small group, we talked about the kind of marketing and PR of why Burlington, right? Why Burlington School District? And one of the things that I think is the silver lining of COVID is that I have discovered after 34 years of living in Burlington, I have a 5th grader, all these resources that are within the city district that I didn't know about, that could be integrated, helpful, supportive of the educational system. And I think that partnering with Burlington Parks and Rec and whatever the entities are within the city of Burlington would be really helpful in supporting our students and our families and the community at large that we are dependent on to support the budgeting needs of the strategic plan and the district. So just somehow to kind of connect all the dots to the school district is so key in the response. We now have made the case loud and clear that education and kids being in school is a necessity for the economic and welfare of our community. And so anyway, I just think that if we could combine and somehow demonstrate how they're all connected, it would be really great. And it would be a great resource for families coming into the city, and maybe a reason why people would choose Burlington. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been as a new family to Burlington, we've been very impressed with the city side and the city services for kids, the Nordic skiing and all kinds of fun and interesting things that are out there. I do think there is work, and we have coordinated with the city in many ways, and I think there's work to continue to do that. I'm currently meeting with the mayor a couple times a month, and we're in pretty close contact on a number of things, and then also we have a regular standing meeting, and those have been really productive, and we both want to work together. And Victor Prusak, who I mentioned earlier, who's here, who many of you know, has been going to one of the things that has come out of COVID is where there have been cross-functional team meetings at least a couple of times a week. They may be down to once a week now, I'm not sure, but they're meeting regularly too. And so we've been able to connect on some specific work. I think the high school is a place for us to really kind of build off of some of those partnership opportunities. I'm very excited about having a high school downtown and all the opportunities for deeper learning, which I am a huge proponent of, that exist in a school that is in the city where we have a lake and all the resources around the lake and the business community and city government and the arts and just so much there. So I think that I think that that's a great way to sell the city and sell the schools. And I think we need to do that. Well, and just for your benefit, we do really well. Like Champlain, I know the South End really well and the businesses that support, but I could not tell you who supports, Hunt or IAA or I mean, anywhere else. I just only know what happens at Champlain. Yeah. Yeah, so I appreciate that. We are doing some coordinating there, and I think we have work. We can continue to do some of that. Victor, do you want to talk for a second about the partnership work and BHS, or do you have anything to add there? Or are you?
I don't know that I have anything to add. It's just that I would just reiterate some of the stuff in the chat, and just people are saying COVID has definitely pointed out connections that were way more informal and infrequent that now I think everybody recognizes need to be more formalized and more frequent. Like Burlington is pretty unique. I mean, Vermont's unique in how we address COVID, but I think Burlington has been particularly unique. And I think it's pointing out just how connected we are and need to stay. So, whether it's meeting with downtown business owners about BHS and them bringing us all these ideas of all the positive things, that ways they could contribute and ways they could see our students contributing. And then the city connection is huge right now. I don't believe that's going away. I mean, I text and get texts from various city department heads all the time, connected to COVID, connected to resources, questions about students, that type of thing. So we just have to keep that momentum going. That's been my fear all along with COVID, is whenever this sort of goes away, can we think about our work, all of us as citizens, differently and come out of this sort of better than we were going into it?
Thank you. What other questions are out there?
Marnie was next.
Oh, yep. Sorry.
It's good.
Marnie.
Hi, I was wondering if you are considering phasing back elementary schools to 5 days in March rather than waiting till April, since the building space will be available.
I am. To be perfectly honest, it's a hard, like kind of as I was mentioning earlier, there's so much going on right now in the operations of the district and of individual schools that are sort of behind the scenes, that it is hard to find time and resources to do the planning, to do something that seems like it would be relatively simple, like adding a day of school. I think that, but I have since we've
never been clear why they are 4 days and not 5. Maybe if you explain that would be helpful.
Yeah, so we originally started at 4 days. Well, we originally started an A-day B-day with a Wednesday no school day. And that was a decision that was made across the region. And almost every district in the region did it that way. And there were a number of different reasons why Wednesday was a no school day. But then we moved into 4 days a week and kept that Wednesday. And the reason we kept the Wednesday is because we have asked a lot of staff in the building to do additional planning and instructional planning and additional duties on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And so I entered into an agreement with our Burlington Educators Association back in the fall, and we agreed that we would give back the time. So I said I need the time for planning and for duty time, and the duties add up to a certain amount of time, and we give that back on Wednesday afternoon. So some of those the duties are still happening, and some of them are not happening as much, and so it's recalibrating there. And so there is some work to do there. After our last lunch with Tom, I did have a meeting with our union partners who have been really genuinely positive partners throughout this process. And they and we talked about it, and so it's on the mind of the BEA, it's on our minds, and I think that it is something that we may be able to make happen in March. So much of it, Marnie, has to do with how we're doing with COVID in the end. I mean, it is about sort of like the time here versus the time there, but in the long run, it's how stressed out is the system by managing a district, managing day to day in a pandemic. And then I think when people feel a stress level alleviated, then they're able to enter into more like openly into conversations about it.
That's understandable. And I also just wanted to point out that the way that the middle school structured their days and schedule has, I think, been really great. So I just wanted to give a positive remark there. Good.
Yeah, and you feel free to bring it back the March and sort of back in person. You know, I mean, I always, Russ and I, you know, obviously talk a lot, and I always say and I believe we need I want feedback, right? In any piece of feedback that we're getting, I'm always looking for how we get better from that and how we learn from that. So any feedback you have ever, I want you to know you can bring it here, you can bring it, you can send me an email, you can reach out, and I'm open to that.
Tom, it is 12:29.
Okay.
So Valerie, can it be super quick, or is it really easy to answer? Because Tom does have a training that he has to be in at 12:30.
Sure. How about us? I had 4 things. I'll keep it to 2. Thank you for your positivity. Sometimes I feel so overwhelmed, and I'm just amazed that you just keep on getting up every day and bringing your best. I really am so grateful, and for these forums. And then just a shout out. I've been sitting in on my kids' classes, and the teachers are just amazing. We have just hit the jackpot this year with, now counting with this semester, up to 15 different teachers who are encouraging kids to have their screens on, who are innovative, who are engaging, who are, you know, assigning interesting things. I am just so grateful that they've found that rhythm, and I know it's been really stressful and hard. So thank you.
Give us a name, Valerie. Who are you really happy with right now?
Oh gosh, I've been thrilled with Fogg and the Spanish teacher Shalom and Kohler and both math teachers Hubbard and oh my gosh, the Marcel, Gerard. So
Yeah.
those are just a handful, but yeah.
Thank you. Love it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going over to the high school this afternoon after my training, so I'll poke in and give them good news.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This will be
Great to
recorded
see
and
you.
posted on the website. And remember to reach out if you need anything.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see you all.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks,
Thank
Russ.
you.